time for our first this time this year. I can't believe it's taken us all the way to week 12 to have a Pac 12 after dark game. Is the late night game, 10:30 at night. Oregon facing Utah. This game is in Eugene, Oregon. The Ducks are a 3-point favorite. Over under is set at 61 and a half. So really it's going to come down here, Fresh. Can the Ducks recover? Can the Ducks recover to a nasty loss to Washington last weekend and being able to get past that? They have taken a drop. They're no longer going to the college football playoff unless some all sorts of crazy happen. And then you take a look at Utah. Had a terrible loss. I don't want to say terrible loss. I changed that. Had a tough loss at Florida to start the season. And then they go to UCLA. They lost at UCLA later on there. They had the big win against USC. This Utah team is kind of like, where are they? Are they falling backwards? Are they a top 10 team? Like where exactly they are. They're led by Cam Rising. Cam Rising has done everything we thought he would do this season here. You look at him, 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on his season. And then how healthy is Bo Nix? That's my big question. How healthy is Bo Nix? Bo Nix taking that shot, going out late in that Washington game. I know he powered through, but we also know we've seen this story of Bo Nix before. And Bo Nix kind of resurrected his career this year. It's been nice to watch, seeing how impressive he's done over there in Eugene. But we're so used to Bo Nix kind of crumbling when the big moment calls. Is this game in Oregon's mind? They had everything in front of them last year. And in a span of, I believe it was 19 days or 20 days, they wound up getting shellacked by Oregon twice. Once by Utah. Once in Utah, and then the next in the Pac-12 title game. So, Fresh, I'll turn it over to you here. Are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing here? I kind of feel like Utah's going to go in and do the same thing in Eugene again.
I mean, Utah's a machine. With Tavion Thomas in the backfield, rising quarterback, the offense, the way the offensive line just takes over a football game. They are a physical team. That secondary has the athletes to run with the Oregon Duck receivers. But Bo Nix in the end is the only thing that truly matters in the story here, because if Bo Nix is healthy and able to move, he brings the dynamic to this football game that did not exist last year. That situation with Anthony Brown at quarterback last year, even with Travis Dye, they could not manufacture offense. You put in Bo Nix, who's been able to run around, open up the offense, find the receivers. If that's there, this offense will give Utah a much bigger challenge, because the Oregon offense is top 10 in the nation in points per game and total yards per game. Like, they can move the ball up and down the field. Utah's defense in total yards allowed per game and points per allowed per game, they're in the top 25 rankings nationally. So they're a pretty good defense. I don't think they're as amazing as they were last year, but they're still quality. This is going to be the best matchup that Oregon's going to face offensively if they are fully healthy. If Nix is not playing, Utah's defense has a huge advantage. And I think it actually levels the playing field. This game is an Autzen Stadium. Their crowd's going to be ready to go. They know they're still technically in shouting distance of a Pac-12 title. I think the college football playoff is out of anyone's grasp right now, except for USC. But they have a chance to still winning a conference championship, kind of what we talked about with Wyoming and Boise State and theirs. You have a chance to play for conference title at this time of the year. You need to take advantage of the opportunity. It doesn't come to many teams. You have to be able to grasp it, understand the ramifications of a win and what it could do to build you back up. I think with Dan Lanning after that game, doing some soul searching and admitting that he made some mistakes and that he has to be better and owning up to it, I think probably gets respect. Hopefully, if the players in that locker room and play that program, that my coach understands that he might have let us down. Whether, in truth, if that was actually him or not, he's owning the responsibility. But sometimes you don't see coaches take the responsibility on for a win or a loss. And I think that right there might build some respect for him, and the players might actually be able to rebound a little quicker. And they might actually rally around whoever that backup quarterback might be and how they want to progress in this football game. If they're going to win, they're going to have to strike early on Utah. Make Utah think that they are in a game this time. Because right now, Utah's like, hey, it's Oregon. We beat them. We didn't just beat them last year twice. We physically dominated them in both games. They were not even Oregon was not competitive. Both those games were over basically in the second quarter. So you have to be able to get after them early and say, we're going to be here for the entire football game, and trigger in their mind they're going to have to play 4 quarters of time. This is not a pushover. This is not a walk away. This is going to be a battle. If Bo Nix plays, I think Oregon rebounds and gets a win. If Bo Nix does not play, I don't trust whoever his backup is to lead the Ducks to a win when you have a very veteran-laden offense there and a veteran-laden football team in Utah. Bo Nix is the key factor. If he plays, Ducks win, and they win convincingly. If he doesn't play, I'm going to say Utah finds a way to squeak out a 3-point win. It's going to be a tight one because the talent gaps have definitely shrunk. But Bo Nix is the key for this football game. If he plays, they win. If he doesn't, Utah wins very close.
So Dan Lanning did give an update here on this game. Bo Nix is looking like he's progressing towards playing. The problem, though, is it looks like the center and the right guard on that offensive line may be out for this game, which would be devastating because one thing that you can do, and I don't care if it's Bo Nix, I don't care who the quarterback is, any quarterback hates that they're having pressure right up the middle. So if he doesn't have an offensive line that can protect him, especially with that ruthless Utah defense, because there's a few things that Utah does really, really well, and that's play defense. Now, is this defense as good as last year's defense? Nah, not necessarily. But they still have an amazing, amazing secondary that can cover very, very well. You take a look at Clark Phillips, the third out there. Dude has been absolutely a monster with 5 interceptions on the year. I don't know about you, Fresh. The sophomore to me is my number one cornerback in this year's college football. I know there's a couple other people, but I think that he doesn't get as much. If he played at another school, like he played it on the East Coast anywhere and put up these same stats, everyone would be singing this kid's praises. The fact that he plays in Utah is what really hurts him. But my most interesting thing is Dalton Kincaid. How does Oregon take away Cameron Rising's best target? Sewell. You take a look at some of these other guys, the linebackers, because that's who's going to have to cover this guy. He's a matchup nightmare. Kid's got 50 catches on the year, 7 touchdowns. And again, he's another unsung hero. We talk about Brock Bowers. We talk about Michael Mayer. We talk about Laporta over at Iowa. We don't talk much about Dalton Kincaid. He's been really great this year, but then he's also been banged up. He also may not play in this game. He actually has been nicked up at different times, and he may not play. But if he plays, he's going to be a huge problem for the Ducks there. Personally, for me, man, once I started finding out that offensive line is kind of tattered a little bit, I think that Washington game is going to open up the floodgates. I think that this is going to be a really tough game for Duck fans to watch. I really do, because I think for all that you've accomplished, for all that you've done that has been very, very spectacular this year, and Bo Nix has really resurrected his career and made us not just think about the Auburn years. I think this is going to be a tough loss for the Ducks to take. Give me Utah in this game.
A great point that you made about the center and the right guard. I remember watching that final 2 drives. The guy, every play was, you could tell he was holding his right shoulder, writhing in pain. You could see it in his face. And if, center, his right arm is what snaps it. They run a lot of shotguns. So it's not just tucking it under for the quarterback in the snap. He's having to launch it back there. And you could definitely tell the pain was getting to him. And it wasn't launching the ball back in the shotgun formation with as much power, as much, authority as he had in the past, because there was just so much pain in that right arm. And he had to go to a knee a couple of times, which kind of also killed momentum of the offense. When they're trying to come back in, especially if fast-paced offense, you want to move. They had to pause, bring the trainers out, take a play off, look at him, and just it gave the defense for Washington a chance to catch their breath as well. But he was also in pain. It was a weird kind of the way it all flowed out at the end of the ball game. And if he doesn't play, You really want to give him the credit for fighting through and trying to win that football game and play it out for his team. But sometimes you have to be protected from yourself, and you and maybe getting him off the field, getting him healthy, letting the next center step in, and trusting him to be full for the whole game might be the best thing for him.
Yeah.